Hey, hello and welcome. My name is Anne Callis and I am the program manager of the Bachelor of Laws programs here at RMIT University. So this is the session on law, especially Bachelor of Laws, or you may also hear me refer to them as the LLB programs for short. We currently offer 3 degrees, 1 straight 3-year Bachelor of Laws degree and 2 double degrees with specific areas of the Bachelor of Business. So I'm going to tell you all about this over this presentation. So to get started, a very warm welcome to all the prospective students and parents interested in this area and of study and here today. Next slide, please. Let's start, of course, with an acknowledgement of country. So RMIT University acknowledges the people of the Wolverung and Bunurong language groups of the Eastern Kulin Nations, on whose unceded lands we conduct the business of the university. RMIT University respectfully acknowledges their ancestors and elders, past and present, and RMIT also acknowledges the traditional custodians and their ancestors of the lands and waters across Australia, where we conduct our business. I would also like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands from which I am dialing in today to speak to you all. And this is Wurundjeri land, where I am here in the inner north of Melbourne. Next slide, please. So RMIT is committed to active reconciliation. We have a commitment to work together with Indigenous and non-Indigenous staff, with our students and our communities to embed reconciliation in everything we do. Please take some time to reflect on this commitment to reconciliation. You as future lawyers, hopefully, will have to play a special role in these reconciliation efforts. The legal system provides many of the levers we have to address inequality and injustice. So this is something very close to our heart, and you will hear about this when you start your degree with us. Next slide, please. So you have 2 speakers today, is myself on the screen and on the left, and I would also like to hand over shortly to my co-speaker, Professor Anthony Forsyth, to just introduce himself. Over to you, Anthony.
Thanks very much, Anne. And yes, it's great to be joining you all to give you information about our relatively new Bachelor of Laws degree at RMIT. We've been running a Juris Doctor program for nearly 15 years, which is targeted at mid-career professionals. And last year we began preparation for launching our Bachelor of Laws, which we've done successfully this year with around 100 students in our first intake. And we really look forward to telling you more about the exciting offering we have for school leavers and those coming through RMIT pathways into the Bachelor of Laws in this session. Thanks, Anne. So I think it's next slide and back to Anne.
Thank you. I think I'm back up. So what are we going to cover today? We will tell you quite a bit more about our global technology-focused programs that really try to make hopefully you prospective students lawyers that can and will be successful in a changing world. We will talk you through our entry requirements and pathways, our program structure, but also about what our facilities look like and our connection to the past and to the future there. Industry connections is a very important part of how we do study at RMIT in general, and also at law at RMIT specifically. And we'll talk a little bit about career outcomes of lawyers in a changing world, if you like. Next slide, please. So how do you get to study with us? So if you are straight out of year 12, Our clearly in ATAR for 2021 was 85.15. Keep in mind that this is determined each year and it's subject to change, but this year we have introduced a guaranteed ATAR for many of our programs, and for the straight up the 3-year Bachelor of Laws program, that is a guaranteed place in 2022 with an ATAR of 88 or above. Now, there are many pathway options into this program, including, if you don't make your ATAR, including pathways from associate degrees. And I think we have a slide specifically on that on the next one. So next slide, please. So can't get in. Maybe you want to start with an associate degree in business or an associate degree in legal practice, or a paralegal degree. You can, you will have to do well in these degrees, but if you have a passion for law and justice, that might just give you, you know, a good start in these areas, and then you can come over into our degree, which will lead ultimately to admission to practice and, you know, allow you to practice as a lawyer. So undertaking a certificate, diploma, or these associate degrees can help you get around our ATAR entry requirements. And there might also be credit, especially for the introductory first course if you undertake one of these degrees. So helping you to cut, you know, shave a little bit of time off your bachelor degree afterwards. So don't despair, there are many ways into a law degree at RMIT. So next slide. Let's have a look a little bit in more detail at our course structure, our program structure. So this is the structure for a 3-year degree, so not for the double degrees. They would be too complicated to put up here because you'll have to juggle 2 degrees. But your straight law degree looks like this. You have 16 core courses and 8 electives. We often have students contacting us saying, or, you know, prospective students contacting us saying something like, oh, I want to be a criminal lawyer. How can I do a degree that is just about criminal law? Now, something you need to understand about law degrees in Australia is if you want to be admitted to practice, if you want to practice as a lawyer later, you will have to do a certain number of areas of law. They are the same in every law school. So basically the light gray, and I'm not sure what this looks like for you on the screen, but the light gray subjects are these areas of law that are required for admission to law practice, the priestly 11. There's not much given there. They are the same wherever you consider studying your law degree. The other courses in the slightly darker colors here are what really makes this degree our specific RMIT offering. We have a special commitment to law and technology, but also to human rights and justice, and that's really reflected in here. So, you know, for example, the enterprise law course, which you do in your first year, quite exciting, allows you to work on industry problems, providing legal solutions to a startup very early in your degree. We are embedding technology outright, for example, in the technology ethics and the law course. So the area required for legal practice is ethics here, and we are, you know, embedding technology really early in your first year. So this commitment to law and technology on the one hand, and but also justice, human rights on the other hand, draws throughout the whole program and will pop up in most of the courses. Large range of electives, they are coming mostly, as you can see, towards the end of your program in year 3. Everything from commercial law electives to climate law, to human rights clinic, to various internship courses. And hopefully, not right now, but hopefully in the future again, maybe some study tours. And by the time you are in the third year of the degree. Hopefully we are past the pandemic and you will be able to take up these opportunities. Next slide, please. So I've mentioned the double degrees a couple of times. These are 5-year degrees. We currently have 2 double degrees. We are hoping to be able to add more in the future. You can do a double degree with a Bachelor of Business, Economics and Finance. So very much setting you up to work, you know, in corporate law, financial services. It's a kind of a really nice combination that you know, sets you up very much in that finance area. We also have information systems. So if law and technology is really your thing, this is your opportunity to combine, you know, technical skills with legal skills and intellectual property, ethics, privacy. All of these are growing areas of law, and there's definitely a market out there for staff that can understand both the law and the information technology. So if you have, you know, even been on TV, you might have heard about the new Bachelor of Business coming. So for next year, we still offer these double degrees. In the future, RMIT, or as of next year as well, will have a more general Bachelor of Business, but it will definitely help, you know, you will still be able to do the double degrees with these specializations. But, you know, keep an eye out for that. There might be even more flexibility in the future on how you can combine Bachelor of Law and a Bachelor of Business. Next slide, please. So this year, the clearly in was 88 and 0.05 for our double degrees. Again, these clearly in ATARs will be determined each year. This is subject to change. As with our single law degrees, there are pathway options, including the completion of an associate degree or of a partially completed bachelor's degree. If you have a very specific query on admissions, please post it in the chat, and we have admissions expert basically on the line who will be able to help you with this one. This is it from me. I'm handing you over to Anthony to tell you a little bit more about what makes our degree special, what makes it an RMIT law degree, and over to you, Anthony, for the next slide.
Thank you very much, Anne. And yeah, I've been at RMIT in the law school for nearly a decade, so I've been there for almost the whole of the evolution of our Juris Doctor programs and now our Bachelor of Laws. And it really has changed quite rapidly in response to demand from students. One of the reasons we started the Bachelor of Laws and an undergraduate offering was that we heard a lot from RMIT students or people who wanted to study at RMIT that they wanted to do a double degree with law as a component, or they wanted to have pathways through to a law degree from our paralegal and other programs, even at vocational education level, which Anne has talked about. So a bit about where we teach and how we do it. When in-person classes are on, we teach in the historic restored Emily McPherson building on the northern edge of the CBD in Melbourne, just near Lygon Street. In the building, we have a law student lounge for bachelor's and Juris Doctor students. And I'll say a bit more later about the role of that student body through our Law Student Society, and really our established Juris Doctor group are a ready-made mentoring group for our newer, younger Bachelor of Laws students. And also in the picture, we have the Justice Tom Smith Law Reading Room, which we set up about 6 or 7 years ago with a donation from former Victorian Supreme Court Justice Tom Smith of his library collection. It's a really nicely fitted out, quiet study space that our students use a lot when we can be on campus, of course. And between this and the main RMIT library, you'll have electronic access to all the resources that are needed for law studies. So that includes all the Australian and overseas legislation that's used in your courses and in your assessments. You'll have all of the case reports. So a big part of law study is reading decisions handed down by the courts and judges, and also all of the academic journals that you'll need access to. Next slide, thank you. So mooting is a very important part of law study and law student life. For those of you who don't know, moots are mock legal cases where students act as barristers, arguing in court on behalf of hypothetical clients based on a hypothetical case situation. And that could be anything from the legal rights of people living on the street in the Melbourne CBD, or the legal issues that young people come up against in the legal system, including, criminal conduct, or engaging in things like graffiti or drug use. We sort of argue these cases before moot judges. So the students are role playing as barristers, and we have often real judges or other established barristers playing the role of moot judges. These on the slide are some of our JD students who recently competed in an external moot competition, and we currently have a team that's made the quarterfinals of the prestigious Kirby Contract Law moot competition, which we're very proud of and hoping that they go on to greater success. So a lot of students engage in these moot competitions to sharpen their legal skills, to apply the law that they're learning in their courses, and also because it does look really good on your CV when you're applying for positions in the legal sector. Mooting is also part of the assessment in the final year course in the Bachelor of Laws called Evidence, which we call our capstone course, and students argue these cases in that course in the fabulous setting of the old Magistrates Court building, which RMIT owns. It's also the building where our Vice-Chancellor has their offices at present. So we have great facilities for creating a real court-like atmosphere for all of the mooting, both in competitions and in the course where mooting is a requirement and part of the assessment. And we provide a lot of support to our moot teams in competitions through coaching and staff assisting them with developing their case briefs and their arguments before the judges. So next slide, thanks. So I mentioned that we've had the Juris Doctor for almost 15 years. RMIT has actually been involved in legal education since 1962, when it set up what was known as the Articled Clerks course. And some of the graduates of that course have gone on to become Supreme Court judges, and also people like former Victorian Attorney General Rob Hulls, who now heads up the RMIT Centre for Innovative Justice, which, as well as doing a lot of research on alternative methods of resolving problems in the legal system rather than the traditional sort of approach to crime and punishment of our old-fashioned legal system, as well as all of that research, the Centre for Innovative Justice offers all sorts of opportunities for placements, internships and clinical programs that our students, both JD and LLB, are able to be involved in. We also have really strong connections in the Victorian legal profession. We have an advisory board that's chaired by County Court Judge Amanda Chambers, and that board also has representatives from major legal firms, from barristers and the Victorian Government Solicitor's Office, among others. And we involve these experts in our teaching through guest lectures and industry mentoring in several of the Bachelor of Laws courses. We work closely with industry partners, including the courts and community legal centres, like the Young Workers Centre at Trades Hall, which is just across the road from our building. So students can undertake internships, placements and clinical legal practice. And we have a number of established programs for that for both JD and LLB students. Anne mentioned our study tours. Before the pandemic, our JD students were able to undertake, we have a subject called Innovative Justice Study Tour, and they've been on tours to places like New Zealand and New York City to examine innovative and therapeutic approaches to justice administration. and we'll certainly be looking to offer those to LLB students when the travel situation opens up again. And in the meantime, one of the things we're looking at is virtual study tours. So we're working at options with the courts and other partners to try and simulate some of those study tours given the travel restrictions that we all face at the moment. So next slide, thanks. So over the 15 years or so our JD has been running, we've obtained really good career outcomes. Between 80 to 90% of graduates obtained full-time employment from the JD in 2018 and 2019. We have graduates working across the legal industry in the Victorian public sector with the Victorian Government Solicitor's Office and with Legal Aid, at non-profits like the Consumer Action Law Centre, in legal firms including Morris Blackburn, and big commercial firms like White & Case. I think one of our graduates worked with them overseas, King & Wood Mallisons and Cause Chambers Westgarth. Some of our graduates have become barristers or CEOs of startups or social enterprises, and some are working in-house as lawyers with corporations or trade unions. Another, a former president of our Law Student Society, David Mejia Canales, who sits on our advisory board, is now working as a political advisor with an Australian Greens senator. So I think what all of this shows you is two things really. Law as a degree is a great general qualification for a wide range of possibilities in the labour market, and also that an RMIT law degree in particular can take you many different places. Next slide, thanks. So these are just some of the dates for next year. Obviously, there'll be dates prior to this that are really relevant to you in relation to VTAC and the application process. We have two intakes for the LLB next year, at the start of the year and again mid-year. At this stage, given the COVID situation and restrictions, it's a bit unclear how we'll be teaching next year, but it's likely going to be, as it has been this year, a combination of in-person and online delivery. Anne will be able to say a bit more about that if there are questions about it, how we've gone about doing the teaching this year. And the last thing I wanted to end on was a point I made earlier about the JD students and the interaction with the LLB students. So the Law Student Society is very active and now covers and has membership from both Juris Doctor and Bachelor of Law students. And as I said, the JD students who have quite a lot of experience in work and in studying other degrees prior to doing the law degree at RMIT, they're a ready-made mentoring group, and we've adopted a number of programs to integrate and ensure that the younger school leaver or through RMIT pathway students studying the Bachelor of Laws have support and can benefit from the learning and wisdom of the Juris Doctor students who have been working away at their degrees for some time with us and have a lot of experience that they can share and support, and even work on things like mooting together, interviewing competitions. We have a lot of on-campus activity or online in the last 18 months around having law firms provide information sessions to our students about how they apply, the application process, what law firms and other employers are looking for. And as much as possible, we're involving both sets of students in all of those activities so that they can support each other. So that's all I wanted to cover. I think we're at the stage for the next slide where we're opening up for some questions.
Okay, and I have some questions in the chat. Kate, I have some questions in the chat, and some of these we might have already covered, so you might have shot them off early. So again, the double degree with law you can do at RMIT. At the moment are the two double degrees, Bachelor of Laws, Bachelor of Business, and then for the Bachelor of Business, it's either information technology or economics and finance. very much hope that we will be able in the future, but definitely not for next year, to add a Bachelor of Laws, Bachelor in International Relations, or maybe Communication, but we'll have to see about that. If you are dialing in from grade 11, keep an eye out. There may be more double degrees coming. I have an interesting one here, and Anthony, maybe I'll hand the tail end of this over to you as well. What jobs other than typical lawyer, barrister, solicitor can law give? Well, what can't you do as a lawyer? This is a really interesting question, and what we've seen with our Juris Doctor alumni is, yes, a lot of them go into traditional law jobs, but ultimately the skill set you are acquiring if you're doing a law degree is one very much around problem solving. And people do all kinds of interesting things. They might have stayed in their particular industries, but they bring this extra bit of knowledge and, you know, ability to properly negotiate a contract back to their industry. So people continue to do all kinds of things. We have a JD alumni that is managing a hospital. It's this kind of a job that can be really enhanced by having in-depth knowledge of you know, the legal basis, the legal system that sits behind your job. NGOs is a very typical one for law graduates to go into and bring their knowledge into. It's interesting that this question also said no desk job. I think many of law-related jobs are desk jobs in some shape or form. But I mean, if you're starting a law degree in this day and time, the profession is changing rapidly. Whatever future jobs may be out there, they are still being created as well. So, you know, don't box yourself into, I study law, I will be a solicitor, I will be advising on wills. There are opportunities out there that are basically asking for your skill set. So Anthony, can we hand over to you for maybe a couple of more words on this one?
Sure. I think it's true to say that with most jobs you would end up in from a law degree, it's going to involve a fair bit of desk work. But I think if you think about different options, like if you end up at corporate counsel for a mining company, you're going to be away from the desk at a lot of mine sites, looking at some interesting things and working with engineers and experts in safety in that field. So I think the nature of the job could be quite varied. I think a lot of our graduates have gone into the media. So I think journalism is another major area that law skills in writing and analysis are really useful for, and quite a few of our graduates have done that. I think the other way to look at this is where have a lot of our JD students come from in terms of their professions, because they've already done a degree and worked before they come to us, and the mix of that is incredibly varied. We have nurses, we have engineers, we have doctors, we have people who've worked in hospitality, in a whole range of different sectors. And what they're looking to do with the law degree is add that to their skill set. And it might mean that from there they're going to go and be a lawyer in a law firm, or it might be they're going to stay working as an engineer, but as Anne said, now have the capacity to engage in another part of that business in terms of negotiating contracts or working out how to resolve disputes that come up in relation to those contracts. So it's kind of a two-way thing where you can go with a law degree and how you come into it for the older group. But I think it still illustrates for anyone thinking about a law degree now is that there are a heap of different options. And I think Anne's advice is very much the same advice that I would give, which is don't be too fixed about where a law degree might take you. And one of the things I learnt over studying law, both undergraduate and then postgraduate, is that you can start out thinking that you're really interested in something. I was really interested initially in law and journalism, but ended up developing what's ended up being my career, which is employment law and workplace relations and disputes involving trade unions. And that just evolved over working in the field and studying it for many years. So will we go ahead with some other questions, Anne?
Yep. Maybe back to me. So we have some other interesting questions. There's one here that says, what is the difference between doing a law and psychology degree and law and criminology? Now, if we are asking double degrees, we are not offering either of those as a double degree. It is an interesting question, though, to ask, especially I'm doing criminology, why should I be doing law? And a nice segue to another thing I would like to mention. So doing a Bachelor of Laws gives you at the tail end the opportunity to be admitted to practice. And that is the difference to many other justice-related degrees out there. You'll have to do a Juris Doctor or a Bachelor of Law and an accredited law program in order to practice as a lawyer at some stage later in your life. So I don't know, like, how this is really something all of you need to understand, and that there is an extra step after you study with us, or after you study at any law school for a Bachelor of Law. So we are providing you with the academic requirements of admission to practice. When you are done with us and you've got your transcript and your completion certificate of the Bachelor of Laws, you will still have to have some more steps before you can get admitted to practice. And these steps are practical legal training, or PLT, where you do either 1 year of supervised workplace training with a law firm, so clerkship, or you have another half a year with an approved practical legal training course, which you will have to undertake on a fee-paying basis, usually Leo Cousins Center of Law or the College of Law. So there is some steps beyond what you're doing with us before you will get admitted. But again, the difference between doing the Bachelor of Laws with us and, for example, doing a criminology degree or a justice degree with RMIT elsewhere is this one here gets you admitted at the end when you have done all the steps leading to admission. So let's have a look. I hope this also covers the PLT, the practical legal training, which was another question by someone else. What is the difference between this degree and the Juris Doctor degree? The main difference is this is an undergraduate degree, so it is very much catering for students that haven't done another degree. Our Juris Doctor attracts professionals from all walks of life, as Anthony has said. You know, we could actually staff a whole medical center. I think there seem to be a lot of medical professionals that would like to do a law degree later in life. So you're studying at an undergraduate level. The core subjects, the areas of law we teach are obviously the same, because both of these courses lead to admission to practice. But you will not be able to be admitted into the Juris Doctor unless you already have another undergraduate degree. So this is very much a course designed for school leavers, or if you come through one of the other pathways we introduced you to earlier in the presentation. Another question, why should I choose law at RMIT over another university? Because we are fantastic, obviously. This is a very practical course. We will start you extremely early with industry in the classroom, as early as your very first course, the Becoming a Lawyer in a Globalized World, which I am usually teaching. You will have a legal practitioner in the classroom bringing in, you know, your very first weeks a classic problem from their practice to you and say, so look, this is my client who's asking about these things. So where do we find a law? How do we go about this? So this is something that really draws through the program, where we are, you know, teaching you with devices such as case studies from real life, and have professionals coming in, working together with you, giving you this opportunity to acquire a really practical skill set that sets you up, you know, to hit the ground running when you are going out into the profession. Also, you're interested in the technology angle, in the future of law. This is something we have really woven into throughout our bachelor program, and hopefully something, or very much something, that should set you up to become a successful lawyer that can pivot as the profession shifts, which it is shifting at the moment. Anthony, I might leave this to you to say a couple more words on that one. So,
yeah, I think one of the major differentiating factors of our degree, as Anne has mentioned, is the practical focus, and that really draws on a very long-standing strength of RMIT and its reputation across all the areas that it teaches in for applied practical skill development and knowledge for students, and also a really strong focus from the beginning on not just educating students in the law, but setting you up for a career in the law. And I mentioned our industry connections, which really facilitate that. Another distinguishing factor is that it's a 3-year law degree. Most undergraduate law degrees are 4 years with an honours component. We decided to adopt a different path with our law degree, which enables you to cover all of the required learning, but in a shorter time period, and that has been accredited by the Victorian Legal Admissions Board. So it provides you with the same qualification and pathway for admission to practice that Anne has talked about once you take those further steps. And by the way, the 12-month supervised training or the 6-month practical legal training, that is the same wherever you do your law degree in Australia. So that's a uniform requirement for admission. And then I guess the other distinguishing feature, which we touched on earlier in the presentation, is the way we've integrated law and technology into several subjects at each year level of the Bachelor of Laws, because we know that the changing nature of the economy and the digital workforce, the issues that are coming up in my area in the labour market, and how people are engaged by companies through digital tools, these are really important areas of legal practice that we really want to set you up to be equipped for. And other things like, you know, the use of blockchain in commercial transactions, that's a really key component of one of our LLB courses. And then the other element is business and human rights, because we see in the global economy that what goes on in supply chains, the way workers are treated, the way the environment is treated, and the growing awareness of businesses about having to address issues like climate change, that these are also really important aspects, and they're no longer on the fringe. They're part of the mainstream of how businesses are run, about how governments have to consider these kinds of issues. And so the human rights dimensions of business are another really strong component of our Bachelor of Laws program.
Okay, I might take a couple more. We have a little bit of time. We have another question about moots. Anthony has talked quite a lot about where this is embedded as part of your studies. But I really want to emphasize again, the Law Student Society is, you know, fielding teams in a lot of national and actually international moots. We also participate in one international moot, and that opportunity will also be available to our undergraduate students, hopefully in mixed teams with the JD students. And that is a international commercial arbitration moot, the BIS moot. At the moment, we might add others. this is very much going to be a third-year opportunity where you can actually enroll in that moot subject and actually get subject or course credit for this. Generally speaking, there's a very, extracurricular mooting program, a very active one, run with our Law Student Society. If you start with us next year, I urge you to get involved early. It will set you up fabulously for your final capstone subject, which is evidence, where mooting is embedded as part of the assessment. We don't have a lot of time left. There's a question, are there any areas of law that RMIT specializes in, or is the course fairly well-rounded? I would say yes and yes. It's not an either or. We have to offer everything, otherwise we wouldn't get accredited. So whatever area of law you want to specialize in, you will be covered. But I think Anthony has just really covered this extremely well. Where have we put a little bit of emphasis that reflects who we are as RMIT, but also teaching this out of a graduate school of business and law. So this interface with business shines through in our business and human rights course, in our enterprise law course, in the focus on technology as well. So, okay, is there anything else here that we can do? What is the assessment structure for law units? That's a good question. For the core courses, especially for the Priestley 11 courses I mentioned earlier, there will be a final exam, and it will stay. At the moment, we are doing these online. They might be back in person at some stage. So the final 50% of your assessment is an exam. At RMIT, we usually have 3 assessments. So your standard breakdown will be like a 20%, 30%, 50%, give or take, might be 25, 25. We try to have fairly practical assessments. So you will be having a lot of, writing advice to client. You might present to an industry panel in a group. So there's all kinds of assessment, but what we're really trying to do with our assessment is not just assess you on do you know the law, but also use this to build your skills in standard formats you will need, throughout your legal practice. Such as, writing a memorandum of advice to, senior counselor in your imaginary law firm, or, writing to a client, presenting to a client, and so on. So I think we might not have more time. Let's see if there's anything else in here that we have missed. I don't know, Anthony, you want to add anything?
Just on assessments, the classic way of doing law exams that you'll find at any law school is a hypothetical problem. So, in my area of employment law, it might be, this company is engaging people on an Uber style model as contractors. Is that legally correct? Should they, or food delivery people, should they really be categorized as employees and therefore have employment rights? So we would develop a hypothetical problem that sort of sits behind that key legal question. And the way you answer it is by reference to the cases and legislation that you've learned during your study in whatever the relevant course is. So those sort of fictitious case scenarios in which we sometimes like to inject funny names and different things to sort of make it a little bit more bearable for the students when you're sitting in an exam hall or doing it online at home these days. But yeah, that's the fairly conventional approach to law exam tasks. And as Anne mentioned, the in-semester tasks can vary, memorandum to lawyers or to advice to clients. But I think what you get out of this is that, as with everything else that we're doing, it's very practically oriented, really getting you to apply the law to situations that you might confront in everyday legal practice or in the commercial world, or in the media, whatever avenue you end up pursuing with the law degree qualification that you acquire. So back to you, Anne, to close out, I think.
Well, there's so much else to say. Thanks for listening and attending. Hopefully we will, see a lot of you in our program next year. Contact us if you have any further questions. We're very happy to provide you with further information, and obviously the RMIT team, RMIT Connect team as well, as far as admissions goes. If you are in grade 12, we're wishing you the very best of luck with the rest of your studies and your exams in very difficult times. You're doing fantastic just by the fact that you are here, and hopefully it all runs smoothly, maybe even in person, but that seems like a big maybe at the moment. So for everyone, we wish you all a very lovely rest of the Sunday, and have a look around the rest of the sessions like this one at RMIT, and hopefully we can welcome you next year at law at RMIT in the bachelor degrees. Thank you so much.